you know there's a ton of men that you can really pinpoint where they are in their money mind because this is where they're living. These are the guys who are like, I need to make a bunch of money so I can get a bunch of chicks. The only reason I wanted to be rich and famous was because I knew that's where all the girls were. And if I wanted to live life the way that a hot girl lived life, hear me out here. Hot girls get to live a different life than not hot girls. Men don't get to live that life at all. But the only way that a man can live the way that a hot girl lives is by being rich and famous. What's cracking YouTube? Jamil here, and this is video 2 in the mindset journey of an entrepreneur. How there is a spiritual connection between making money. And I'm gonna help you tap into that. In today's video, we're gonna be diving into the 2 key fundamental truths that you need to understand, realize, make a part of your identity that will help you tap into the frequency of abundance. All right, friends, so people ask me, Jamil, what is the work that you're doing in the Energy of Money Mastermind? Like, what could we expect? Well, what I can say and what I tell people is that we are doing frequency tuning. Essentially, that's what it is. You see, the reality is that you have a money mind somewhere at an energy level in your body. Now, you might be aware of what the energy centers are and the different names of those energy centers and the levels. What's really interesting about those energy centers and how they correlate is that they are exactly the same as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So there is a major parallel between the energy centers in our body and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is pretty interesting, right? Because I learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs in elementary school. In fact, I learned it from somebody who I'm pretty sure had no idea what it meant, because that teacher was living in survival and was at a very basic level of mind, but still was teaching it to us, really not understanding what all of it meant, which again, Mrs. Curbison, I love you, thank you so much. Honestly, one of the only things that stuck out to me in all of my elementary years, other than the horrendous bullying that I went through, was Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I'm super grateful that you taught us that. It has changed my life. Now, let's get to the 2 fundamental truths that you need to realize and know before we can get into the levels of mind related to money. The first fundamental truth that you need to realize is that you are already everything that you need to be, and you already have everything that you need and want. Now, you're probably hearing that and saying,
come on, dude, what are you talking about? I want $10 million and I don't got $10 million. I want a better situation with my relationship and I don't have a good situation in my relationship. I want to have higher paying job, or I want more fulfilling friendships, or whatever the thing is, right?
Whatever your goal for future development or future you is, you're realizing that there's a gap between where you are right now and where you're trying to go. And because you see that gap, you feel like, I am not there. Well, here's the second fundamental truth that you need to understand, is that all possibilities, everything that could or would happen, is actually available in the quantum field right now. And in fact, nothing exists beyond right now. Everything in the past is gone. Everything in the future is a hallucination. And so all possibility lies in the current, present moment. And so if there is a version of you that has $100 million in the bank, that version of you exists in this moment right now. You just aren't experiencing it because you are vibrating at a different frequency than it. I'll say it again. The version of you that you're wanting to experience, you're not actually touching right now because you are vibrating at a different frequency than it. Now, it all exists right now. They call this string theory, or parallel universe theory in quantum physics, where all these different versions of you are happening at the same time. And you literally tap into the different version of you based on the level of consciousness or your frequency that you're vibrating at. Now, people talk about this in terms of timelines. Like, you may have heard people say, I want to live my highest timeline. Well, what they're saying is they want to live in the highest frequency that's available to them right now. And in living in the highest frequency that's available to them right now, the people, the opportunities, the circumstances, the money, all those things change based on your frequency. Now, of course, there's the gestation period that will have to happen between you really getting the $100 million in your bank account. But the reality is you have to be the guy or be the lady who has $100 million and then act as if, and that's what ends up happening. So it's be, do, have. Be, do, have. Now, a lot of times what ends up happening is people miss the do. They miss the do, or they only do the do and they don't understand the be. So they have neglected to have their identity, to be a new identity, to be a new frequency inside. And they think, I'm just gonna keep doing these things. I'm gonna do, and I will have. And I realized that that's not actually how it works when I trained over 5,000 people in astro flipping. Because this is what would happen. I would have two people who were equally as talented at communicating as each other, and they had access to the same list, same thing, same scripts, same all of it. Nothing was different. In fact, they had the same amount of time every day. Everything was identical. And they both could be doing the exact same amount of lead generation, but they would have dramatically different results. Like dramatically different results. One of them would have nothing. Nothing would happen, or they would get very, very, very little progress. The other one was like exponential. And that used to really floor me because I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. It should be an input and output game, right? Everyone talks about KPIs, KPIs, KPIs. You make enough calls, you do enough inputs, you're gonna get outputs.
More inputs, more outputs, more inputs, more outputs.
Now that's the world of Alex Hormozi. And I love you, Alex Hormozi. You're an amazing friend and I think you're great, but I think right now in this, you're working too hard, bro. And that's the reason why your shoulders are so big, is because truth be told, if you're living in a Newtonian world, then you have to play by Newton's laws. But if you live in a quantum world, then you get to live by the laws of quantum mechanics and quantum physics. And that's when all possibility is experienced by you at any time that you want. Time and space actually collapse in the quantum field. So you can have access to the frequency of the highest version of yourself. Look at this framework in terms of the money in your life. Now, there's a frequency that you're vibrating right now when it comes to money. If you are lacking money, or if you feel like you don't have enough money, there is a good chance that your frequency or your vibration around money is low. Now, when we look at it from an energetic perspective, or if we put that in terms of the framework of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the basic fundamental, or the root, right, that root energy center is our basic physiological survival, like water, food, air, shelter. If those are compromised for you right now, like if you don't know, I don't know where I'm gonna get my next meal, I don't know where I'm gonna find water, I don't know where I'm gonna sleep tonight, right? Then your level of mind when it comes to money is there. That's where you're vibrating. That's your level of energy. That's where you are on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And in order for you to experience something different, we have to raise that frequency so that we raise the energy and we can get you to the next level of mind. And that's where your money mind will be. And so if you have overcome that already, if you already know where you're gonna sleep, if you already know where your food's coming from, if you know where your water's coming from, and your basic safety needs are met, then you're not in the root, or you're not in that basic level of mind when it comes to money. Maybe you are in the sacral area, right? Now you know there's a ton of men that you can really pinpoint where they are in their money mind because this is where they're living, right? These are the guys who are like, I need to make a bunch of money so I can get a bunch of chicks. Straight up, right? That's why I wanted to be rich and famous. I'm gonna be honest with you. The only reason I wanted to be rich and famous was because I knew that's where all the girls were. And if I wanted to live like life the way that a hot girl lived life, hear me out here, okay? Hot girls get to live a different life than not hot girls, okay? And men don't get to live that life at all. But the only way that a man can live the way that a hot girl lives is by being rich and famous. Straight up. If you want to experience what it feels like to be a hot girl, be a rich and famous guy. It's just what it is, okay? Now, the level of mind that happens in that area is like when you're a man and all you're like, man, I just want to make some money so I can get a girl. Make some money so I can get a girl. Make some money so I can get a Ferrari so I can get a girl. That's where your money mind is. That's where your level of energy is when it comes to your cash. And again, it's vibrating at a lower frequency, right? And if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it makes sense because this right here is where your procreation is, right? This is where you're like finding a mate, finding a partner, and all that lives in that second level of energy, in that level of mind. And if you want to have a little bit of a higher level of consciousness or a higher level of mind when it comes to your money, a higher frequency or more money, you're going to need to raise that energy up. And then you will get to the solar plexus, right? This is where our ambition lies. This is where I see a ton of entrepreneurs are just smashing it because they're living in their power, they're living in their ambition, their drive, their hunger for more. And their mind is in that. The money mind is in that hunger for more. And every action, everything that they do is in that hunger for more. This is the place where we can get pretty corrupted. Now, it's not that we can't get corrupted in the other lower levels, but we can really get corrupted in here because greed can get the best of you. And I can see myself where I was stuck in this level of mind. And in fact, that's what led me to losing the $1 million in the Ponzi scheme that I lost. Because I was in that level of mind where I was like really ambitious and I wanted more. I was already making money hand over fist in real estate. I was already killing it in my coaching program. I was killing it in wholesaling. Keegly was like top of the world. What did I need to go give $1 million to somebody so that they could trade it for me, so that they could make me extra money in a return of investment that was obviously too good to be true? So like, what was I doing? You want to know what I was doing? I was living in my greed. My level of mind was in greed there, and I wanted something for nothing. Straight up. Now, as much as I obviously have some blame for the scammers who stole from me.
F you, Trader's Domain. F you, Ted Safranco. F you, Holton Bugs. All you weirdos out there who are scammers, yeah, go get a job.
So all you people, right, all those guys who were at that place where that's where they're living, they were probably in that same level of mind, right? They were in that solar plexus area, and that's where they had the wherewithal or even the moral turpitude to commit a fraud of that level. What kind of person can go commit a fraud of over $500 million and sleep at night, knowing that you've like created all this havoc in hell for people, right? A pretty terrible guy or girl, right? And so I can't separate myself from that, because what attracted me there? Well, the reason I was seeing it, the reason why it came into my life was because it was coming from inside of me. I attracted that scam, straight up. I was at that vibrational level. And because I was at that vibrational level, the things that were finding me on the outside were a vibrational match. If I wanted to have a different experience, I needed to be a different vibration. And friends, I went through a tremendous amount of anger, resentment, and hate after that happened to me. I had to do so much work to pull myself out of that level of mind, to elevate myself, to put myself at a higher place so that I could move out of that survival region, because I think that every energy center from the solar plexus down is a survival instinct. Right? That's where we're still the animal. This is where our human nature hasn't come into form yet, right? So we're living in this energy from ambition to sex to basic survival. All of that is, I believe, fight or flight, survival. That's where your specific regions of the brain are lighting up. This is where specific activities happen. It's like mine, kill or be killed, dog eat dog. Yeah, because it's survival. We're living in that area, we're living in that level of energy, we're living in that level of consciousness, we're living in that level of mind. And my money is a reflection of it. And so again, when it's pure ambition, when it's just greed that's driving you, well, you're gonna see it outside of you. And if you're finding yourself getting involved in scam after scam, problem after problem, bad investment after bad investment, there's something you gotta see about yourself here. It ain't just the people that you keep finding. Why do you keep running into the same joker? Because what's happening inside of you is a joke. You gotta raise it. You gotta explore that. You gotta be real about yourself, right? You gotta unpack what's going on inside of you. And honestly, the awareness and being true, really calling yourself out, is one of the most kindest acts of love that you can give yourself, because it allows you the framework and the reality on where you can go. You see, when I realized that I was living in greed, that I was allowing that to find me because that's where I was vibrating, then I knew I had to elevate from that. So the first thing I had to do was I had to let that go. I had to release all of my anger. Now, of course, I still don't like those people. You'll never see me having dinner with Holton Bugs, but I don't hate him anymore. I really don't. And in fact, whether he hid money or, still has his $5 million Richard Mill that, no, they weren't able to find when they went and did his asset seizure, so be it. Because the money's gone. And I don't want to carry that hate anymore, because the hate, all it was doing for me was lowering my vibration. It was lowering me to where I was. Now, I have forgiven. I've not forgotten, but I have forgiven all of it. I've forgiven all the people. I've forgiven myself as well, because I was really to blame. Truly. Because if I had been a better guy inside, I would have had a better situation on the outside. So, it is what it is. All right, the next level is where we begin the creation aspects of self. This is where the real quality of being a human being starts coming into play. Because this is where our nature of creation actually comes in. This is when we elevate to the heart. And this is the place, friends, where we are looking for our belonging. We're looking for our tribe. We're looking for ways that we can be helpful. We're looking for ways that we can solve problems. And when we're in that space, that's when we're living from that level of mind when it comes to our money. And that's where our money becomes a creative force, where we can start to see how I'm able to create with this money to do even more, and I start seeing exponential returns, and I start seeing things compounding on each other, and I start being drawn to circumstances and situations that might not even be in my wheelhouse, but all of a sudden I'm getting involved in them and I'm doing better than a genius would in that. Why? Because I'm in that creative force. I'm in that creative energy there, right? And because I'm in there and because I'm moving from that place, I'm moving from that money mind, from the heart, it's giving me results that are divine, right? It's truly, like, you would look at some of the things that are happening around me right now, and I'm not going to get into it, but like, you would see it and you'd be like, whoa, like, that is supernatural. That is a supernatural result. And I agree, it is very much a supernatural result. I'm living in that level of mind. I'm living in that frequency, right? And because I'm in that frequency, that abundant frequency, the world is reflecting that back to me. Now, as we move up into the next creative level, it's our throat, our speech. What are we speaking? How are we creating with our words? The level of mind that we are living in terms of our money. Right now, you've met those people who, when they speak in scarcity, they speak in lack, they speak in not having. And then you've also found those people who, when they speak, it's as if money is not even a concern. Money is not even an issue. And when we speak about it in abundance. We speak as if, of course, right? Of course we can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can do this. Yes, this aligns with me. Of course I can do that. Because it is in the same frequency of what's happening in my body, in my level of energy, in my level of money mind. And so the words that I speak are abundant. The things that I'm seeing are abundant. The connections that I'm making, the opportunities, the lines that I'm sending out, in the words that I'm saying are bringing to me things of like nature. Similar vibrational accord, and because it's of similar vibration accord, we have resonance. Like attracts like. It's a scientific principle. Cool? So when you're in this level of creation, in that space where now you're speaking to it, this is where I get to share this with you. And when I get to share this with you, and you take this advice, and then you go and use this advice, and you go make money from it, that blessing returns to me. And I also get another bump from it. It raises my energy, it raises my vibration, and as I'm helping you, I'm being helped, and it's this incredible feedback loop of awesomeness that keeps happening because I'm lighting your light and you're lighting someone else's light and my light's getting brighter, and we go and go and go and go. And so, are you there? Are you in that spot? Are you speaking to it? Are you speaking in abundance? Are you inspiring in abundance? Are you lighting other people's lights? Ask yourself. Then as we move up from this spot, we get into this area of the third eye, or that spiritual sight that people speak of, right? And this is where you have that intuition, that sense of, I gotta do that, I gotta do this, right? This is gonna be that breakthrough. This is gonna be that thing. I can see that, I can feel this. Right now, you've heard of these folks, right? They tell you, oh, sometimes they just call it luck because it's harder to explain when you speak to it in terms of, energy and frequency and vibration. It's just like, maybe too woo-woo for people. So they're like,
you know what, I got really lucky. I was in the right place at the right time.
And you're like, bro, there's no way that you were in the right place in the right time like 10 times over again. Something's different here. Right place, right time, sure. Fluke, chance, how many times can it happen in a row? But if it's repeatable over and over and over and over again, that's insight. Why do they call it insight? Because it's coming from inside of you. It's a sight that is within. And so when you can see that, you see that path inside it, and it's lit for you so that the next thing is shown, well, that is now a collaborative action between you and Source, you and Spirit. It's helping you, guiding you, moving you along, showing you where you are meant to be, showing you where you are to be of greatest service, showing you where you have the opportunity to touch and inspire more people. And on we go. So that level of mind where it's now not just about me, but it's about everybody around me. I want everyone around me to be abundant. I want everybody around me to understand the magic of money and how beautiful it is and how incredible it is and how you have access to all of it if you just removed the invisible mental prison that you're living in right now. Because those walls are all fake. They're just ideas. Now, as we move up into the crown area, or that aspect of ourselves that is coming from the outside, I would say that is being divinely inspired. This is where we gain those incredible gifts. Now, if you've ever listened to or heard of those artists that speak of their paintings painting themselves, or those musicians who say the music wrote itself, I was not even there. I can say that I experience this sometimes when I'm speaking, right? I almost feel like I'm in the background, something else takes over, and then the words come out. And I'm like, whoa, I watched that back a little while later. I'm like, I said that? Like, that was pretty cool. But it's like, not me. Something else is coming. Something is coming through me. Life is living through me. That's the spot of being an actualized human. And the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is self-actualization, which is the realization of self as one with the Creator. And when you get to experience that, not just know that it exists, but experience it, now you are the creator of your entire reality. Everything that you could possibly want, need, or have a drive towards is a spiritual seed that deserves its nurturing, its water, its sunlight, and an opportunity to exist in the world. And then you become this purveyor or this conduit of God to create on this plane. And then all the things you see and touch, they become gold. This is where the ideas of like Facebook come. This is where the ideas for Uber comes. This is where, Michael Jackson was talking about how songs would just come out of the ether for him. And that him and Prince used to have this unspoken rivalry between them because they both felt like they were both given the same song. And they would both be given the same song at the same time, and whoever got it out first got it. They both talked about this, that they were on such a similar frequency, that they had access to the same gift, the same song that was wanting to be sung, that was wanting to find its birth into the world. And because they were at that frequency, they both had access to it. But who was going to do? Remember, it's be, do, have. So they were both being in that frequency, but which one did it first? Is it a Michael Jackson song? Is it a Prince song? You be the judge. But at the end of the day, they would have the hit. And it's the same thing for you. I mean, look, I kind of feel like I invented Uber too. I had the idea. I did kind of have the idea for Uber, but I didn't have the money or the wherewithal or anything to do it. Now, have you ever had something like that? Have you ever had something come to you in your head where you're like, man, you know what? I thought of that. And then it happened like 2 years later. Well, what that tells me is you were actually at that frequency at that time. You were in that creative place. You didn't do the do. You were the be, but you didn't do the do, and so you don't have it. And so that's it, friends. That's what we're doing in the Energy of Money Mastermind. We are working through our inner energies, our inner frequencies, and raising those levels of consciousness, raising those levels of energy up so that you have access to the different dimension that you've been trying to touch. Everything is happening right now. What you're experiencing is your vibration. Friends, if you would like to learn more about the energy of money, there'll be a link in the description. Talk to my team, see if we could help you get to the identity that allows you to be the version of yourself that you know that your birthright is, so that you can finally do the things that will move the needle so you can have the life that you actually want. If this video was enjoyable to you, do me a favor, like the video, leave me a comment in the comment section on anything that stuck out to you, and share it with a friend if you think that this would be helpful to them. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, do it, man. It's time you did. And until the next one, I'm Jamil Damji, and I love you. Later.